Did you know that your home could be hosting unwanted guests? You have been praying for peace, but your house still feels heavy. Your sleep is restless, and your family is constantly arguing over nothing. You probably own at least 3 of the objects on this list right now, and you have no idea what they have been quietly inviting into your home. Most Christians think spiritual attacks come from big dramatic moments. A demonic encounter in a movie, a haunted house on the news. But the truth is far more ordinary and far more dangerous. Spiritual doors get opened through small, everyday objects sitting in drawers, on shelves, and in closets, objects most believers have never once thought to question. You dust around them. You walk past them every day. You may have even forgotten some of them exist. And yet, according to Scripture, the physical objects we allow into our homes are never spiritually neutral. They either align with the kingdom of light, or they quietly serve another kingdom entirely, one you never gave permission to enter. Today we are going to walk through 7 of them, and by the end of this video you may need to go check your own home. Ephesians 6 verse 12 reminds us of something we forget constantly. For we do not wrestle against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the powers of this dark world, and against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly realms. Notice this is not talking about people. It is talking about an unseen battle, one that can attach itself to physical things far more easily than most Christians realize. Object 1, items connected to divination or the occult. This includes tarot cards, Ouija boards, horoscope charms, crystals used for spiritual energy, and any object tied to fortune-telling or contacting spirits. Many people keep these as gifts, souvenirs, or leftover curiosities from before they knew Christ, thinking they are harmless once forgotten in a drawer. But Deuteronomy 18 verses 10 to 11 is direct about this. Let no one be found among you who practices divination or sorcery, interprets omens, engages in witchcraft, or casts spells. These objects were not designed to be neutral decoration. They were designed as tools of spiritual contact, and that intention does not disappear just because the object sits quietly in a box. I once helped a friend clean out her late grandmother's house and found an entire drawer of items used for fortune-telling, still kept for sentimental reasons. She had unexplained anxiety in that home for years and never connected it to what was sitting one room over. When she finally removed and destroyed those items, she said the atmosphere of the house genuinely felt lighter within days. That is not superstition. That is a woman finally closing a door she never realized was open. You do not need to hunt down every object in your home with suspicion, but you do need to be honest. Ask yourself, where did this come from? What was it made for? What was it used for before it reached my hands? If the honest answer involves divination, sorcery, or contact with spirits, sentimentality is not a good enough reason to keep it. Object 2, idols or statues used in false worship. Figurines representing other gods, items bought as travel souvenirs from temples, or decorative statues rooted in other religious systems may seem like harmless art, but Exodus 20 verses 3 to 4 is not ambiguous. You shall have no other gods before me. You shall not make for yourself an image in the form of anything. These objects were crafted specifically to represent spiritual authority that competes with the one true God, and displaying them in your home, even decoratively, keeps a door propped open that should be shut. I understand the instinct to say, it is just decoration, I do not worship it. But that reasoning did not protect Israel either. Throughout the Old Testament, God's people repeatedly kept the idols of surrounding nations in their homes purely for beauty or convenience, and it consistently led them back into compromise. It was never really about whether they knelt down and prayed to the object. It was about what that object represented sitting inside a house meant to belong entirely to God. If a piece of art in your home represents a god other than the one you serve, its craftsmanship does not make it safe. Object 3, cursed or dedicated objects with unknown spiritual history. Secondhand jewelry, antique items, or objects purchased from unfamiliar sources sometimes carry a spiritual history you cannot see. Joshua 7 tells the sobering story of Achan, who kept devoted items from Jericho that God had commanded be destroyed. He hid them under his tent, believing no one would ever know. But that single hidden object brought defeat and death upon an entire camp. because what one person hides in secret can affect an entire household's spiritual atmosphere. You do not need to become paranoid about every used item you own, but you should be willing to ask God for discernment about anything with an unclear or troubling origin, especially anything received during a season of your life you now recognize as spiritually dark. An object purchased during a period of addiction, occult involvement, or deep rebellion carries a different weight than an ordinary second-hand find, and your spirit often already knows the difference even before your mind admits it. If this message is already making you think of something specific sitting in your home right now, brother, sister, please subscribe to this channel and write in the comments, "Lord, cleanse my house." Now let us continue, because the next four are the ones almost no one warns you about. Object 4. Media that glorifies darkness as entertainment. Movies, music, and books that romanticize witchcraft, demonic power, or occult practice do more than entertain. Philippians 4 verse 8 gives us the standard. Whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable, think about such things. Constant exposure to content that portrays darkness as fascinating or powerful slowly desensitizes your spirit. And desensitization is exactly how doors get opened without anyone noticing. Think about how normal it has become to fill a shelf with books glorifying spells and curses, or to let children fall asleep to shows that treat demonic power as something exciting rather than something to be resisted. None of this happens through one dramatic decision. It happens gradually, one purchase and one binge watch at a time, until darkness no longer feels dark. It just feels entertaining. Object 5. Symbols worn or displayed without understanding their meaning. Jewelry, clothing, and artwork featuring occult or spiritually charged symbols are often worn purely for style, with the wearer completely unaware of what the symbol actually represents. But spiritual authority does not depend on your intention. It depends on what the symbol was created to signify. I once wore a pendant for months, given as a gift, before a mature believer gently pointed out its occult origin. I felt embarrassed, but I removed it that same day. Ignorance may explain how it entered your home. It should not be the reason it stays. Object 6. Items tied to unresolved bitterness or unforgiveness. This one surprises people because it is not occult at all on the surface. Gifts from a relationship you have never released, letters from a season of deep resentment, or objects that constantly remind you of betrayal can become spiritual anchors that keep you emotionally and spiritually stuck. Ephesians 4 verses 26 to 27 warns us plainly. In your anger do not sin. Do not let the sun go down while you are still angry, and do not give the devil a foothold. Notice the connection. Unresolved anger literally gives the enemy a foothold, and physical reminders of that anger can reinforce the door you are trying to close. I know believers who have kept a drawer of items from a painful divorce or a broken friendship for years, telling themselves it is simply practical storage. But every time they open that drawer, old wounds reopen with it. Forgiveness sometimes has to be practiced physically, not just spiritually. Removing the object does not erase the memory, but it does remove one more daily trigger keeping you tethered to something God has already asked you to release. Object 7. Hidden habits disguised as ordinary objects. Devices, apps, or hidden items used to feed a secret can often become the most spiritually dangerous objects in a home precisely because they hide in plain sight. 1 Peter 5 verse 8 tells us to be alert and of sober mind, because your enemy the devil prowls around like a roaring lion looking for someone to devour. He does not need a dramatic entrance when a quiet, hidden habit already has the door unlocked for him. This is often the hardest object on the list to deal with, because it usually is not sitting in a drawer waiting to be discovered. It is sitting in your pocket, charging on your nightstand, open in a private tab. And because it looks completely ordinary to everyone else in the house, it can quietly operate for years without a single person questioning it. The lion does not need to break down your door when you have already left it unlocked yourself. Your home is not just a physical space. It is spiritual territory, and every object inside it either reflects the kingdom you serve or quietly competes with it. This is not about fear. It is about stewardship. You would never knowingly leave your front door unlocked overnight, yet many believers unknowingly leave spiritual doors wide open through objects they have simply never questioned. Psalm 101 verse 3 gives us the standard David set for his own household. I will not look with approval on anything that is vile. This is a decision, not an accident. A clean spiritual home starts with an honest inventory, followed by the courage to remove what does not belong. If this video has brought something specific to mind, I want you to do one thing right now. Write in the comments, Lord, search my house and my heart. Walk through your home this week with fresh eyes. Ask God to reveal what you have overlooked. And if you know someone who needs to hear this today, share this video with them. It could be exactly what prompts them to finally clean house, spiritually and physically. Don't forget to subscribe so we can keep growing together in biblical wisdom every single week. God bless you deeply, my brother, my sister. Until next time.